Christian Darrisaw was one of the best value picks in the 2021 NFL draft, and due to a core muscle injury that required surgery, he really didn't get to play it until week 5 against the Lions. And technically, he didn't make his first official start until a week later against the Carolina Panthers. Now, in this video, we are going to break down the left tackle's game and kind of what I saw from him early on in the season and how he got so much better as the season kind of went on. Because Darrisaw became a dominant force for the Minnesota Vikings. And I truly think, based off of how the season ended last year and how great he looked on tape, by the time that this season comes to an end, Christian Darrisaw will be regarded as one of the best offensive tackles in the entire league. Now, before I get into some of Darrisaw's really good reps, I want to show you guys what I saw from him early on in the season, because he was really struggling at times with some very basic things that he looked great at in college. Two things that he struggled with that I would consider pretty basic would be his explosiveness out of his stance, as well as his ability to reach block. Now, keep in mind, Darrisaw looked fantastic in college being able to do these things, but once he got into the league, especially early on, he really struggled. And when it came to his explosiveness out of his stance, he really wasn't quick out of his stance. He really didn't explode out, get vertical, and set and punch well. Like, he was really struggling. And this happened a couple of times in the first 4 to 5 games that he was playing. And on a few occasions, it led to him losing reps. For example, against the Cowboys, this was technically his second ever start right after the bye week. And he basically was slow out of his stance, and he ended up getting beat by this defensive end. The other issue in terms of reaching on zone runs, multiple times I saw him not being able to do some of the things he dominated in college at. Like, I remember watching Darrisaw at Virginia Tech, and I said this guy's a superstar player solely based off the way he run blocks. He's able to cut off the 3 technique. Sometimes he was able to cut off the 1 technique, which is insane for a offensive tackle. He was able to seal off defensive ends and just dominate. But when his career started in the NFL, he was kind of struggling with these things. Now, keep in mind, as an offensive tackle, when you have certain things, explosiveness, reaching, stuff like that in college, that generally translates very well into the NFL. Like, day one, these things translate. Now, those things I just mentioned are quote unquote basic things. The final thing that I did see him struggle with, and keep in mind, this is something that pretty much every rookie struggles with, and they generally take a year or 2 to really develop this. It's the mental in-game processing. And in my opinion, Christian Darrisaw really struggled with his in-game processing early on. And I mention in-game processing because as the season came to a close, the guy dominated. And part of it was because he really was able to process things well. And if you guys don't know what mental in-game processing means, it's basically how quick an offensive lineman is able to read and react. For example, if the defensive line runs a game, aka a stunt, how does the offensive lineman handle that? Are the tackle and guard able to switch as the defensive lineman runs their loop? Because as you guys can see on this play, Darrisaw and Ezra Cleveland do not do a good job switching. Cleveland actually does pick up the defensive end, but Darrisaw does not see the defensive tackle. And if you guys kind of zoom in at the end of it, you do see Darrisaw kind of turn his head to the left, realizing that he made a mistake. And Cousins does get pressured, he does get the ball out, but technically this is a losing rep by Darrisaw. Now, real quick, I just want to show you guys how it should look like. On this play, you're going to see the Raiders right guard and right tackle do a great job switching. The right guard passes off the defensive tackle to the right tackle, at the same time picks up the defensive end. That's a great job right there to be able to switch and pick up that defensive line game. Now, again, I'm only showing you guys this play because Darrisaw does do the correct thing, and we'll get into those plays a little bit later on. But as we're kind of talking about mental in-game processing, there are a couple other things that kind of lead into that. Picking up defensive line games is one. Another thing would be if a slot cornerback blitzes off the edge, does the offensive tackle read that and see that quick enough? Or if there's a screen pass, does the offensive tackle know how to field the screen pass, read what the defender's trying to do, and stick with that guy? Or does he kind of get confused and lost in the shuffle? And this play is a good example of that. On this play, there's a screen to the Christian Darrisaw side, and had Darrisaw just stuck with this defensive player here, had he just continued to block him, this may have been a touchdown. You have the numbers to your side. But Darrisaw looked to the inside for just a split second. Maybe he felt that the quarterback got sacked, or maybe the running back didn't get the ball. But that split second ended up allowing this play to get blown up. A touchdown, essentially, or at least a big gain, turns into a loss of yards. Mental in-game processing is such a key part of playing the game of football. Being able to feel things, see things, react to things. That is all considered mental in-game processing. And again, as the season came to an end, Christian Darrisaw was super explosive and looked really, really good at that. Now, was he absolutely terrible and unbearable as an offensive tackle in the first few weeks? Absolutely not. He wasn't that bad, but compared to where he was as the season came to an end, it's almost like there were two completely different players. Like, that is what Christian Darrisaw looked like on tape. And trust me when I say this, he closed out the season really, really strong against the Rams, the Packers, the Bears. The guy probably lost 3 or 4 reps in his 165 total snaps. Now, at this point, what I want to do is I kind of want to switch over and talk about the actual tape. Really share with you guys what makes Christian Darrisaw an elite football player. Earlier, I mentioned how he struggled with reach blocking. As the season went along, he had no issues. Take this play against the Packers. You have a 3 technique defensive tackle over the outside shade of the guard. The play is away from Christian Darrisaw, and Darrisaw quickly reaches to the inside. He does that with an explosive first step to the inside, and he does his job. Now, that's a basic reach block, right? Basic things that you do in college translates into the NFL. But one thing that is not basic is what we refer to as the jump hook technique. And Christian Darrisaw, for a rookie to be able to do this, is so freaking impressive. On this play, what Darrisaw is going to do, instead of going directly to the defensive lineman, he is going to take a lateral step to the left. Basically, he's jumping to his left, and then he is going to hook the defensive lineman. Christian Darrisaw has a toolbox of different techniques. This is one of the reasons why I think he's going to be such a special football player. Not only does he jump hook, but basically allows the running back to pick up an easy 5 yards. Now, earlier I said he was having issues with reach blocking. Jump hooking is just another way to basically reach block. And of course, as the season went on, he had no issues, as you guys can see in this play against the Niners as well. He was able to get to the inside and just cut guys off. But another thing he did very, very well was basically he was able to double team, help his guard, get off of the double team and get up to the next level. And he did a fantastic job doing this. Now, on this play, Cleveland and Darrisaw do a great job getting to Brandon Williams, really double teaming him and reading the zone concept here. Basically, if the defensive tackle goes to the right and Queen goes to the left, the linebacker would be the responsibility of the guard. But the opposite happens. The tackle goes to the left and the linebacker goes to the right. So basically, Darrisaw processes this as the game is going on and he picks up the linebacker. Mental in-game processing, Darrisaw flashed it on tape. Now, switching focus here, I kind of want to talk a little bit about his pass blocking because there were a lot of question marks. A lot of people were kind of concerned that will Christian Darrisaw be able to handle the strength and speed of the NFL level. But once he got into the league, I think he did a great job last year. Officially, he gave up 4 sacks, but technically, I don't know if I would give him credit for all 4 of those. But from an advanced technique perspective, check this play out against the Rams. One of the most underrated pass rushers in the NFL is Leonard Floyd, number 54 for the Rams. And one of the things Floyd is notoriously known for is to flash fake hands. So what that means is Leonard is basically going to get his left or right hand up, just depending on what side he lines up on. He's going to fake a punch, which essentially makes the offensive tackle throw a counter punch, or at least get their hands up. And Floyd turns that into a speed rush and generally speaking is able to get pressure to the quarterback. Darrisaw does not fall for it. He's obviously watched the tape and is obviously ready for Leonard Floyd. He's able to shut down the superstar pass rusher. Christian Darrisaw does things at just a different level. Like where he's at today in his game, he should not be there for a rookie. Now, overall, Christian Darrisaw has the ability to become one of the most dominant players in the entire league. And I'm not saying that just to say it. Like, the guy just looks different on tape. And I know there's a brand new regime coming into the Vikings. I don't really think that changes things. I know the Vikings will now be switching from a predominantly outside zone scheme to a inside zone. And it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Obviously, the only thing it's really going to impact is how the offensive tackles, guard, centers, how they take their steps, right? Instead of taking the far wide step, they're going to be taking a slightly to the inside, like a 45-degree step instead. But the interesting thing with the Vikings offensive line is pretty much from left tackle to right tackle, it is basically locked in, right? The only real battle, in my opinion, is going to be the right guard position. Is it going to be Jesse Davis, or is it going to be the second round pick Ed Ingram out of LSU? Keep in mind, I love Ingram. I made a full video on him saying that I think he's a potential steal. And, you know, between Urza Cleveland being the starting left guard and likely Ed Ingram or Jesse Davis as the right guard. But either way, I think the Vikings, between Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, I think there's a really good offensive line there. And I think they have some cornerstones for the future. I truly believe the Vikings offensive line is going to be really, really good. And their run game has already been really good, right? So it's not like anything's really going to change. But I think they're about to have one of the best offensive lines in the league. And I think that's going to be led by Christian Darrisaw. I love Brian O'Neill, but I think Christian Darrisaw is just a different player. And I think he's going to be so much better than any other player the Vikings have. I think Christian Darrisaw is going to be a really great player. But let me know what you guys think, man. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And I'll see you guys next time with another video.